Anyway, Deputy, and what we're now saying is that, and facilitated by the flexibility permissible under Croke Park, what we want to do is come to the staff and their representatives and say to them, look, we would like to change the way in which we pay you more radically in order to facilitate the greater flexibility we want. We don't want these older structures in there.
But we were to get greater flexibility from the Croke Park Agreement. That was the purpose of it. Yet we still paid allowances for that greater flexibility in certain instances after the agreement came into force. Because these allowances are for greater flexibility.
Well, no, these allowances are for driving, franking, and so forth.
Acting up
what we're saying is that we now need to move to a more modern pay structure to ensure that the pay structures we have, which are for these limited and low-paid group of public servants, don't in any way bar us for having those greater flexibilities.
Do we have the information on how many allowances were approved after the Croke Park Agreement came into force and what they were for?
Allowances for new beneficiaries.
Yeah, or just new allowances that were approved for work done.
Well, there wouldn't be new allowances as in new types of allowances, but maybe new people to
benefit from the allowances.
People who may have. We can see what we can do. Yeah,
I'd be interested to see that, because one of the criticisms that's always levelled at me in relation to the Croke Park Agreement is that it's meant to be delivering all these greater flexibilities. Yet, when we talk about the allowances review here, we might be paying for those flexibilities. And it seems that before this review has even been undertaken, we may have been actually paying people extra allowances for flexibilities people were expected to be delivered under the Croke Park.
Like if you look,
Mr. Watt can provide that information.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be interesting to get.
Your time again,
in addition to the franking machine allowance, is it possible that someone could take the franking machine allowance and the machine duties allowance? Could you be entitled to one or more of these allowances that are listed here?
No.
You can't have both. Okay. In relation to the forklift allowance, that's for people hired to drive forklifts. So they get their basic salary and we pay them a forklift allowance on top of that.
We pay 15 people out of the 35,000 civil servants, and we pay 15 of them 34.49 a week. And that costs us €16,785.
But can you understand, I mean, why would we have introduced a forklift allowance?
We introduced it in the 1950s.
Yeah. But is there any legacy or any detailed information on...
I'll see can I find the file.
If you could. Were you happy with the business case for retaining the forklift allowance?
Look, as I've said, these Fuji type allowances, these 14 allowances which we've discussed, we are going to put them in the context of the pay structure that we've set out so that we can move to a more sensible way of paying this group of people.
No, I understand that, but when I wrote to the Public Accounts Committee on the 10th of September asking that we do a review of the business cases and the allowances, because I knew the information had been compiled and I thought it would be an interesting exercise for us to undertake as a committee, because we'd learn a lot, because it hadn't been performed before, because the information was there. It would be very interesting in terms of transparency and us learning as a committee about how these things are done in the public sector. And then I look at something like the forklift allowance, and it might be the best explanation in the world for keeping it. It might be justified. It goes back to the 1950s. I'm sure you'll find something on your file that says this is why it was done, and it's all explained very well. But they were asking of a thorough business case as to why the forklift allowance should be maintained. There's 3 paragraphs here. Please provide a thorough and considered business case for maintaining the allowance, etc., etc., etc. And in the first part of that, they're asked, what does the employer receive in return for the allowance? Driving a forklift. Is the allowance cost effective? Does it represent value for money? That's not answered. These aren't business cases. And this is a point that I made before, and I'm interested in the details, as I know you are, and this is what I also know the Minister is. That's what we're talking about.
Well, we have reviewed 1,100 allowances. We have 800 business cases. Those are business cases that are available for you, and we'd welcome the views of the committee on these allowances. And if you have a different view on the forklift allowance or other allowances, if you don't agree with the business case, or if you wish to get into the minutia of that, well then by all means do so, and we look forward to hearing and reading a report on this. Like we've set out here our views on a way of proceeding to rationalise this and to move to a situation where we have a much more sensible way of paying people across the system. And we welcome the committee's assistance in this task, and that's what you're being asked to do.
Thank you.